heartbreak and disbelief after a deadly gas explosion at a Minneapolis school.
Right now, the search is on for one person still missing in the rubble.
It's just a very precarious situation. It's very, very unstable. There's no signs of obvious location.
As search teams keep working, we're learning what little warning people inside had that something was wrong.
It was seconds after they told us to everybody to get out that the explosion happened.
It was a big boom, the floor shook.
Tonight, we hear from survivors and from those who came to their rescue. The news starts now.
Right now, our continuing coverage of that deadly explosion at Minnehaha Academy in Minneapolis. The blast caused part of the school to collapse, killing one person and injuring 9 others. And at this hour, one person is still missing. These pictures give you an idea of just how powerful this explosion was. What had once been one building, as you see on the left, now looks like 2 separate buildings. Throughout the day, authorities updated their search for the missing. Then about 2 hours ago, they confirmed one person who had been buried in the rubble died.
And within the last few minutes, Minnehaha Academy confirmed the victim's identity as Ruth Berg. She had worked at the school for 17 years. We have more on the victims, the injured, as well as survivors and those who came to their rescue as part of our team coverage tonight from the scene. And we begin with the latest with Lauren Lemanchuk. Lauren?
Well, Randy, as you just mentioned, the school confirming that Ruth Berg, a longtime employee here, has died. We have confirmed through someone's family that an 81-year-old custodian, his family confirms he is still missing and has not been heard from. Now, crews are still searching for that man, but as you can see, that building is incredibly dangerous, so it's slow going.
When we arrived, essentially we just saw a great big hole between where with the 2 buildings. You can see it right here. It's essentially a collapse, and there was a gas leak that was shooting flames out from the north side of the building. Myself and the other officers behind me stepped up and recognized that there was one person trapped under that rubble, and then we were also told that there was at least one more person that was completely trapped underneath there that we weren't able to see. Myself and the other officers were able to try and dismantle some of that wall, break it apart, and eventually unbury the party from there and rescue him. Unfortunately, because of the flames and the heat there, and also not having the equipment the heavy equipment necessary to break up what was remaining there, we weren't able to get to the other party that was underneath.
So you heard that dramatic story of the rescue from the first responders. People who were here inside the building also told us their story. Some of them went in to try and help. A number of students inside the building, most of them all accounted for tonight. Walking with a bandaged head,
Okay.
but alive. Those who made it out counting their blessings. Not everyone escaped.
Of the 2 that were missing, we have located one.
The victim found buried in the rubble. A search still in progress for one missing person.
There are people who are wondering where their loved ones are, and we grieve with them.
I felt like we got bombed.
Philip Day was on the 2nd floor with his wife and daughter. A staff member warned that she smelled gas, and then
It was seconds after they told us to everybody to get out that the explosion happened. All the windows in the office we were in blew out. The rubble from the ceiling, everything came tumbling down.
Fire officials say a contractor working on the building likely ruptured the gas line, leading to the explosion. Several staff members and about a dozen students were inside the building.
I just heard a loud explosion. It was so loud that it shook all my insides, really.
Students and staff say this school is like a family.
We are a very tight-knit community, and so we're encouraging each other and certainly looking to the Lord for peace during this time.
Comforting each other, hope fading, but not gone yet.
I'm not ready to make that call yet. I still consider it a rescue, and we're going to do our best to try to locate everyone that's unaccounted for.
So again tonight, just one person still unaccounted for. Several others are injured, 3 of them critically. A lot of thoughts and prayers here in this tight-knit school community for their recovery. Julie?
All right, thank you so much, Lauren. Well, the force of that explosion was so powerful, it shook some people out of bed.
Carol 11's Lindsay Sievert is here with more on the neighbors who ran to help. Lindsay?
Hi, Randy and Julie. We were on scene pretty quickly where many people on the street described the force of that explosion like a sonic boom, a kaboom they had never heard before in their lives. Now, many of these neighbors could have hidden in their homes, but instead they had a choice. Many ran to help.
The sound was so loud, you couldn't miss it.
The floor shook and the lights went on and off.
You felt it in your chest.
Homeowners along South 46th Avenue could not foresee the force of a second.
All of a sudden, I see the helicopters run there all over the sky.
And the longtime foundation of this Longfellow neighborhood collapsed.
It's scary.
Fracturing a community at its core.
We just started digging, and the one guy who was there, he had a heartbeat, and he was moving oxygen, so we got a chance, let's get him, and then you could smell the gas, and then a fire started.
Paul Meskin lives just steps away. He dodged raining debris to pull concrete off the trapped man.
I mean, there's lives at risk, and you got to go and get them.
No hesitation for the Ramsey County deputy who just happened to be home on vacation.
And they said there's a female, and we tried to, but...
They haven't heard anything.
As the community learned, 2 people inside Minnehaha Academy were still unaccounted for. First responders only began to sift through the rubble.
Now that's the sad part.
And Paul cannot forget the life he saved and the life he couldn't reach.
I mean, it's a family member.
And again, standing here, it's just really hard to grasp that the 2 structures you see behind me were just one building hours earlier. And neighbors along the street said there were kids here, students at the school playing soccer. They ran to this fence right here screaming, asking people on this street for help. And that's where our Camille Williams comes in. She talked to student athletes in the building at the time of the explosion. Camille?
All right, well, thank you, Lindsay. We are here along the sidewalk where there were dozens of people lined up just across from the school. And yeah, there were a group of Lady Red Hawk basketball players who were extremely emotional and shocked that this happened. Kayshana Barth hugs her mom tightly. She and her teammates were inside for basketball practice when they heard the explosion.
Yeah, we were just in the gym, and all of a sudden, the lights just went off, and then we heard a big boom, and then a lot of stuff came falling down, and then our coach, he was just like, you guys have to get out of here right now. You gotta go, you gotta go.
Her mom says she's glad her daughter and teammates made it out safely.
I don't know, I just had to hurry up and get here. It's okay, I'm fine.
Kim Schneider says her son, Sam, was on the soccer field when the explosion happened.
The first thing he said was, I think I saw who died, Mom. He said he saw 2 men run out and were yelling gas, gas, and then one he saw turn around and run back in, and right as he ran in, Samuel said it exploded. Hope he's wrong, that nobody died.
Well, sadly, as you heard earlier in this newscast, there is one person confirmed dead, Ruth Berg. After speaking with some of the basketball and soccer players, the athletes here, it sounds like none of them have any serious injuries or injuries at all. Coming up at 6, we did speak with a man who says he and 2 others escaped through a window to the roof of the building, and they were rescued from there. You'll hear that story at 6. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Camille. The injured were rushed to HCMC right away this morning.
And that's where Janelle Klein has been all day. She joins us now with the latest on their conditions. Janelle?
Randy and Julie, ambulances came rushing in here to HCMC not long after the explosion happened, and doctors and staff say they were ready for the worst. At least 20 extra physicians and surgeons came back into work today to help the team that was already here, with 6 operating rooms prepared to handle injured victims. 9 people total were brought here today, including 5 that have now been released. The other 4 are still here, 3 in satisfactory condition, and 1 person is in critical condition. Their care is all part of a plan the HCMC staff knows well, since they practice for situations like this several times a year. Disaster drills, they say today, made all their operations go very smoothly.
My thoughts were that it was, really going to be bad. Everybody kind of goes into full speed, all hands on deck. Everybody did a tremendous job today.
Well, that crisis plan was not confined to the hospital and emergency room here in HCMC. In addition to the staff treating victims here, they also had physicians out at the scene. So a very comprehensive emergency plan, Randy and Julie, by the medical personnel here at HCMC.
And happy to hear it's now just one person in critical condition versus the 3 we'd heard a little bit earlier this afternoon. All right, thank you, Janelle.
Well, it was clear at the scene that the community came together to support one another.
Our Adrian Broadus joins us with how Minnesotans are sharing their well wishes online for those impacted today. Adrian?
Julie and Randy, so much love and support pouring in on social media. Many of those folks on social media watched these images live as everything was unfolding. The common thread in every message we've seen is that people are praying for Minnehaha Academy. If you take a look, you'll see that Julian writes on the school's Facebook page, "MA, you're on our minds, hearts, prayers, and we will be here when the rebuilding efforts start. Just let us know." We're also hearing from Vikings tight end Kyle Rudolph. He said sending prayers to everyone involved and especially all of the families. Meanwhile, Jason Zucker forward for the Minnesota Wild saying thoughts and prayers are with everyone involved and their families. And then in the last hour, we have seen messages of thanks. Another saying, Roseanne writing, "Thank you, first responders. My daughter is a paramedic and I am a nurse. Truly appreciate your efforts." And because there has been such an overwhelming outpour of support, the school posted on its Facebook page in the last 30 minutes saying that the vigil for tonight has been moved, and it has been moved, that prayer service, they're gathering at the lower and middle school. Back to you.
7 p.m. is my understanding. Thank you, Adrian.
We'll be posting any updates we get to this story on KARE11.com as well as on social media. You can also monitor the free KARE11 News app, and we'll also have continuing coverage at 6 and 6:30 tonight. We are following some other news today.
We'll have that coming up, and Belinda will have our forecast. Stay with us.
Live look from Sky 11 at Minnehaha Academy. If you're just joining us, that's where officials say a natural gas explosion destroyed part of that building sometime around 10:30 this morning. The Minneapolis Fire Department says one person is dead, a staff member from that school, another is missing. We're continuing to follow this story, and we'll have updates for you as information becomes available.
In other news tonight, after decades of discussion, years of construction, and countless delays, the St. Croix Crossing Bridge is finally ready to open to the public. The grand opening ceremony was held this morning, but as KARE 11's Kent Erdahl reports, the rubber won't meet the road for another 3 hours.
When 3,000 people show up for a ceremonial ribbon cutting, you know it's a big deal.
That bridge probably cost a lot of money to build.
7-year-old Will Persico is right. The massive new St. Croix Crossing Bridge did cost more than $620 million. And tonight at 8 p.m., it will finally open to traffic, replacing the Stillwater Lift Bridge after decades of trying.
It took a long time. I thought it would never be built.
Today is a day which many people thought would never arrive.
Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton and Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker agreed that the reason the day did come is thanks to cooperation that spans states and political parties.
Any governor that can get Michelle Bachmann and Al Franken together on the same subject has done a remarkable task.
Of course, the gratitude also extends far beyond politics.
I'm really thankful that the people who built it could build this.
People like Lowell Schmakel.
2015, I had a little over 1,000 hours of overtime.
As a boat and barge operator, Lowell supported river crews throughout the more than 4 years of construction. And as a Stillwater native, he calls this day an honor.
Very, yeah, and to be a part of the history of it. Yeah, this is crazy.
Crazy that it's finally a reality.
Imagine how much hard work it took them to build this bridge. It's like Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Minnesota together.
Near Stillwater, Kent Erdahl, KARE 11 News.
He's the best part of that story.
I think we had 2 current governors and a future governor in Kent Erdahl's story.
We're expecting a big change in our weather. It's going to feel much cooler tomorrow. Bill's up next with your forecast. Stay with us.
Around Around the country today, President Trump announced his support for a new immigration law. The legislation shifts the system of entry to a merit-based program and would cut the number of immigrants allowed into America by half. The new system would take into account English language skills, education, age, and any high-paying job offers. The president has made it clear he wants new immigrants to have the ability to support themselves. Right now, the U.S. uses a lottery system. The president also signed a bill today putting new financial sanctions on Russia. The bill is aimed at punishing Russia for its meddling in the 2016 presidential election. It also places sanctions on Iran and North Korea. Congress passed the measure last week, and we're unsure whether the president would sign it.
Well, another first for the Dow today. Stocks closed above 22,000 for the first time ever, thanks to a big jump by Apple stocks. Final numbers, the Dow closed up at 22,016. The NASDAQ also up, closing at 63.62.
Well, Belinda joins us now with the forecast. It is 80 degrees right now. It's going to be a little bit different tomorrow, isn't it?
It was 83 today, and 82 is where we should be for the weekend. And tomorrow it's going to be just like October 2nd.
Which will be what?
64, and that's going to be at 10 a.m.
Wow.
In the afternoon, it's going to be in the 50s.
No way.
Wow.
So grab your jacket tomorrow. Make sure it is waterproof. You'll need it for one day. We spring right back into the 70s on Friday, so that is good news. Let's start out by taking a look at Minneapolis. We were at 83 today. It was a beautiful day. 67, still a beautiful evening on tap. So if you want to feel a little bit like August, you want to get out there tonight because we do have some changes coming, as I mentioned. We'll step outside, and you know, it is nice, and it's going to remain really nice. So all the way through the evening hours. But then this comes in. Look at this air that's sitting up in Bismarck. Only 61 degrees today in Bismarck, and that cool pool of air is surrounded by quite a bit of shower activity. And there it is, showing up in the western part of the state, northwestern portion of the state as well. Plenty of sunshine still here, but we'll have clouds rolling in tonight, and then the rain will enter from the west and rotate through, and we're expecting just a deluge from the morning through around 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then late in the afternoon it'll actually get a little bit better. So here's your evening hour forecast. We'll dip down to 80 at 6 o'clock, stay at 80 I should say at 6 o'clock, and then dip down into the 70s with the clouds increasing after sunset. So in the morning hours, there's midnight, we're at 72. The rain has reached Wilmer and Alexandria. Then we get to 7 a.m. and it's probably 64, 65 degrees, and that will be the daytime high. Because then after that, this is what happens through the afternoon. You can see we dip down to 58 degrees at 5 o'clock. It's 52 in St. Cloud, 52 up in Brainerd. Oh my goodness, 58 in Mankato, 62 in Jackson. And then 10 o'clock tomorrow night, it'll be cool, 52 degrees. The showers do exit the region at about midnight tomorrow night. So by the time we get to Friday, we'll have a little bit of leftover cloud cover, but then we're going to rebound to 76. So, you know, a little bit below average, but still quite nice. And looking at the weekend, it looks as though the chance of showers will really just be on Sunday. Saturday, it'll be isolated at best, and mainly off to our west. So not bad, but not as warm as it should be. It should be 82 degrees. We're going to be at 75 and 74, and then it will clear out. As you can see, 79 on Monday, 82 on Tuesday, and then more showers on Wednesday. So how does next week look? Well, overall, there's a 70% chance that the central part of the country will be cooler than average through August 11th, which is next Friday. And we're sitting there as well. So the only part of the country that's going to be above average is the part of the country that is steamy as we speak, which is the western edge of the country, and of course the western states there, the Pacific Northwest, I should say. So back to the 7-day forecast. Next week doesn't look hot, but it looks like we'll be sitting in the 70s and low 80s all the way through the 11th. And then overall, if you're wondering, the long-range forecast for the entire month is above average all the way through September. So there it is. We'll toss it back into you guys.
Ahead for us this evening, we'll have a report on the latest from the scene of a massive explosion that ripped through a Minnesota school today. The Trump administration proposes a merit-based plan for entry into the U.S. to cut legal immigration by half. We'll explain. And my interview with a man whose wrongful conviction sent him on a journey that turned the tables of justice on NBC Nightly News.
recap now of our top story tonight, the tragic explosion and building collapse at Minnehaha Academy in Minneapolis. Here's what we know now. Officials say just after 10 this morning, a natural gas explosion destroyed part of the building. School officials have confirmed that the receptionist, Ruth Berg, died in the blast. She had been with the school for 17 years, and staff members describe her as a caring, kind person who greeted everyone there with a smile. Another person remains missing at this hour. Family members tell us his name is John Carlson. He was a custodian at the school, and again, staff at the school tells us he was like a grandfather to students and staff, was known for handing out dilly bars at the school, had graduated from that school himself in 1953. So two beloved members of the Minnehaha Academy School, one missing and one dead today after this explosion this morning. We will have more on this developing story on KARE11.com, and of course, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Nightly News is next. We'll see you back here at 6.